Hi guys, welcome back. So we've got the squads out. Refer to those videos if you haven't seen them already. I've done a video on the England squad, the Wales, Ireland and Scotland squad as well. But now's the time to put our money where our mouths are and vote who we think's going to win. So go there, register who you think's going to win. I'll be really interested to see the percentage split there, and I'll come back and let you know what those results are. But first of all, a few bits of news. France, it looks like they've temporarily, hopefully, lost a few players from their training squad due to infection, which is a bit of a problem. Dupont, Intermac, Cross, Gelange, amongst those lost. Hopefully they'll come back into it. Their first game is against Italy, though, so if they are still short of a few players, maybe that is a bit of a godsend there, so hopefully that won't have too much of an influence. And for England, we've got a bit of news on Farrell, who probably is out for most, if not all, of the Six Nations. A little injury to May as well, so Ford and Daly come in, two very experienced players. Ford probably should have been in on form anyway, so that's pretty good substitutions, replacements for England there. But on the whole, not a huge amount of extra major injuries after that last round of European domestic games. So, up on the side are all the fixtures. Hopefully you understand how that works. Where the numbers are, that's the number of the round. So, number 1 is round 1. The first team is the home team, etc. So that is all the fixtures on the screen. Try to make it nice and visual. Hopefully that makes sense there. So let's go through it. I'm just going to go through the fixtures, say how I think it falls, along with the squads. And the favourites, I'll start nice and simple. We know the favourites are France, and they are my favourites as well. They're my prediction to win. And looking at the fixtures, there is a nice warm-up game versus Italy at home. So like I said, if they're a little slow off the mark, if they're missing a few players, they should still pick up a nice win there. And they get 2 home games to start with. Yes, the second home game is the in-form Ireland. And that is probably, you could say on paper, and of course I'm talking about on paper here, anything can happen in the Six Nations, but that could well be the decider right there in the second game for France. Ireland at home, whoever wins that is in pole position. If France win it, which they'll be favourites too because they're at home, then they're in a great position to then go to their 2 away games, Scotland and Wales. And then they finish off with England at home, which is a great one to finish off with, as in a home game to finish on. So I like the order of the fixture list. It's always going to be tough in the Six Nations, but I think this is pretty much as good as they could have hoped for, with that crunch game coming in the second round against Ireland. And second favourites, well, Ireland are second favourites on paper, I think, and with the fixture list, that stays the same. They've got some nasty away fixtures against France and England, that is for sure, but they do only have 2 away fixtures, and they've got Italy positioned nicely in the middle there in case they do need to rest players. No disrespect for Italy, but that is how it has become these days, or if they want to rotate and try new things. Starting off at home, which is great, and then, like I said, that huge away trip to France. If they manage to overcome Wales at home, which they will be favourites for, then a massive game against France. I can't wait for it already. So excited for the Six Nations, as always, but especially because of the way the sides are playing. I think we should see a more exciting, expansive Six Nations, which will be great. Now, third favourites, I think, are England. They do have an away fixture to start with, which is always tricky. Away to Scotland, that's just going to be fascinating. Who can hit the ground running first? But if England can win that one, then they get Italy second, 2 away games out of the way, maybe 2 from 2. They go to home against Wales. Now, Wales, we know, can pull anything out of the bag. They're a tough team, but at home, England should be confident. So potentially they could go 3 from 3 with their hardest games on paper to finish on, especially that French game at the end. So if they get the momentum going, if they start fast, England definitely decent fixture list there. Then fourth favourites I'm putting down as Scotland. Now, that first game at home is just a must-win for them. They're at home, it's against England. Can they catch them? Can they catch them with a big performance, which we know Scotland have in them? Then away to Wales, that is winnable. That is definitely winnable. But if they don't start quickly against England, it could all be over. But they do have 2 home games against the big guys on paper, the big money teams, if you like, the big numbers teams of England and France. So that's a positive. Their away match against Ireland's obviously really, really nasty, but at least that is last. Then on to Wales in at 5th, obviously Italy in at 6th, but I'm not really going to talk about their fixtures too much because they haven't really troubled the statisticians on the win front recently. But Wales, their first match versus Ireland away, I mean, that is just absolutely huge. Could sink or swim them. If they win that, that is just a huge boost for them. Away to Ireland, they'll be massive underdogs, so they can play the underdog card, which they are good at doing. Scrapping it, they just need to keep it tight, stay in it, see what can happen. But if Ireland do win, which they are favourites to win that match, then their championship could be a bit sunk before they even start, even though they then go home next to Scotland. Italy as well, it's in at last, it's at home, it's a bit of a not a particularly useful spot, to be honest, because the championship for them almost is over by then. They should win that match. They don't have Italy as a nice start or in the middle where they can rest a few players. So not the best list for Wales, I don't think, especially that first game away to Ireland is a bit of a stinker. Anyway, guys, that's my order. That's how I see the fixtures playing out. Now we know the squads as well. Please register your vote on who you think's going to win. I'm obviously going a bit boring and going for the favourites France. I've hopefully explained why over the course of my previous videos. But get on Twitter, copy and paste that link to go to the tweet. Do follow me if you can, that'd be lovely. Register your vote and I'll be definitely back with those results soon.